Hello, my lovely friends. My name is Ava, and here are some hero falls first romance recommendations. I love romance books where the hero falls first. I just love reading about a man falling first and falling very hard. So let's get into these 10 recommendations. I do have previous, I think 3 other rec videos with this trope. I will link those down below if you want even more recommendations after this. First, I have Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This is a friends to lovers romance between Matt and Lane. They actually met, I want to say about a year ago, when their respective best friends fell for each other in book number 1. And they have been friends ever since then. Matt and the guy from book number 1 own their own like mechanic shop, and Lane is dealing with a lot currently. She feels very behind in life. Girl, same, I feel you. She's currently having some bad anxiety, and she's just scrolling one night on her phone and finds that there is a school bus for sale. And she's like, oh my gosh, what if I made that into like a mobile home and traveled the country in it and live in it? And she impulsively buys it and asks Matt for his help to refurbish it, fix it up, and actually turn it into a home. So they're having to spend a lot of time together, and yeah, it's friends to lovers, and you already know from the get-go that Matt was basically like in love with her the first time that he sees her like a year ago. So he is such a sweet cinnamon roll guy who literally stays up for hours after closing to like work on the bus without the heroine even knowing, because he's like, she's gonna love this. Done and Dusted by Lila Sage is my next one. This is a cowboy romance, and the heroine goes back to her small town, to her family ranch. I believe she experienced an injury while on the back of a horse, and she's experiencing a lot of anxiety. It's her romance with a guy she knew before she went off to like do her career as a horse rider, and things get hot and heavy between them. I don't want to say anything else because I feel like that's very self-explanatory, but I really enjoy this one. If you want a cowboy romance, I'll obviously pick up Done and Dusted. The hero in that one fell for her years ago. Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. This one is so good, and I love Shep in here so much. Like, this is like the quintessential book for hero falls first and stays in love for years. This book starts out with our heroine finding out she is pregnant by a random guy that she met at a bar one night. And she goes and tells her best friend and her best friend's brother, who is Shep, our hero of the story. So the baby's father is not our hero in this book. She has a very interesting relationship with the baby's daddy. But when Shep realizes that this woman is pregnant, he like drops everything to help her with this pregnancy, with this baby, to help accommodate to her. He is in her corner every step of the freaking way. They've known each other since they were kids. She's never really saw Shep in that way because she believes like he's so out of her league, it's not even funny. Why even contemplate liking him? So she is shocked when she realizes that he actually does maybe have feelings for her and has since they were kids. I have Only and Forever by Chloe Lisa, the last book in her Bergman Brothers series. These two characters currently live in the same bookstore. The hero owns a romance bookstore, and the heroine lives with him in the bookstore to help him run it. And in exchange, like, he's gonna help her with the writer's block that she's been having with her thriller that she's writing. But they don't really get along because they have this like animosity between them. They actually knew each other in college. Even though the hero is like the most sunshine golden retriever guy like ever, the heroine is definitely black cat energy, and he just was like, why isn't she being friendly to me? What did I do wrong? So that was all the way back in college, and he like fell for her like instantly in college. But he's also been like, what the heck towards her, because she has been so rude to him. He's like, what did I do? So technically it's kind of like animosity to lovers, but he fell for her back in college. I have Temptation by Jenna Hartley. This is an ex's dad romance. So these two characters actually met before the heroine met her boyfriend. They were all on the hero's, so the dad's, yacht because his son's like friend group wanted to go out on the yacht. He's a very powerful man, by the way. The heroine gets invited along, has not met the hero before because she's like a friend of a friend. But that night she ends up meeting the dad at first. But then becomes the hero's girlfriend because it's the more appropriate aged relationship, and her friend was kind of setting her up with him anyway. But this book starts out with the hero realizing that they're not together anymore, and like he can finally shoot his shot. Unsteady by Peyton Corinne is a new adult hockey romance. These two characters are both athletes. The heroine is a professional figure skater and the hero is on the hockey team at his college. They both practice at the same ice rink. Really early in the morning, the heroine has a lot of responsibilities and things to do throughout the day because she basically takes care of her two younger brothers. So she goes there at like 5 in the morning to skate, and the hero wants to skate without anyone watching him because he was injured on the ice a few months ago, and he has a lot of panic attacks when he gets back on the ice. And so he kind of wants to be alone when he tries and figures all this out. But in the midst of one of his panic attacks, the heroine walks in to practice and she helps him through one of his panic attacks. That kind of starts their relationship. And like the moment that he sees her, he's smitten like a kitten, okay? Please be aware of trigger warnings in this one. It deals with abuse, parental neglect, alcoholism, PTSD. So don't think this is like a light, fluffy romance, because it's not. It deals with some heavy topics. If you're wanting a historical, I have A Night to Surrender by Tessa Dare. This is the first book in her Spindle Cove series, which is such an underhyped series by Tessa Dare. I know everyone loves the Girl Meets Duke series and the Castles Ever After series. I love those too, but Spindle Cove is so freaking good. So this is book number 1. Our heroine, Susanna, has created the town of Spindle Cove with her father, basically as a town for ladies who have been somewhat ostracized from the ton in society to take refuge or vacation, whatever the case may be. So there's not a lot of men in this town. And if there are men, they're like already husbands or quirky men. It's a ragtag group of men living in this town. It's majority women. So Bramwell was in the military, and he was discharged because he got shot in the leg. He does walk with a limp and use a cane at times, so there's that disability representation. But he is sent by the king to go and form a militia in this small town of Spindle Cove. And when he gets there, he's like, where are all the freaking men? And he doesn't know, like, this is also called Spinster Cove. It's full of women. And so he's trying to figure out how to form a militia in this town full of women. But the moment that these two characters meet, he like falls hardcore for her. So I think that one of them almost gets run over by a stampede of goats or something. The hero falls over and he looks up at the heroine, like leaning over him, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm dead. You're an angel. Like, I'm in love with you. And she's like, I think you hit your head, sir. Like, no. I have an alien romance. Obviously, it's Ruby Dixon. This is Argyll's Residence. A lot of Ruby's books could be Hero Falls First, because let's face it, our alien heroes from her books are smitten with their women. This one is no exception. This is Argyll's Residence, which is the first book in her Ice Planet Clone series, which is the second spin-off Ice Planet Barbarian. So I do recommend you read previous 2 series before you get into this one. You can do whatever you want though. I'm not the reading police. There is no reading police. You can do whatever you want. But I feel like you would be way less confused if you read the other 2 series before starting this one. Because Argyll, we met him. Oh, there's something coming out of here. Oh, it's a bookmark with all the character names. I don't know why I had that in there, because I've already read this one. Where did that come from? But anyway, we've met Argyll in Ice Home, which is the first spin-off series. And this is him finding his mate with a human. That's all I can really say. I don't want to spoil it because you haven't read the other series. I can't spoil it. But Argyll falls so freaking hard for this heroine. Like the moment that he sees her, I think they're in a jail cell together. That's all I'll tell you. They're in a jail cell together on this planet. I have The Ballast's Bride by Sarah Ivy Hill, and this is a giant romance. The hero can hold the heroine in the palm of his hands. He's a freaking giant. He is also her bodyguard. The heroine was adopted as a child by 2 vampires, and her family has kind of sent her off to be in an arranged marriage with another vampire from a different land, and the hero accompanies her on her travel to this other land and wants to make sure that she's safe, even though the whole time like he's been in love with her for years and wants to make sure like she has the best life possible. But then he realizes there's some like nefarious plans going on with this arranged marriage and he's gonna save her. And lastly, I have a monster ridiculous romance. This is Crow by Layla Faye. If you want like a really short novella, this is one you should pick up. Basically, our hero is a crow shifter. He meets the heroine one night, I think when she's getting mugged, I think. And he's there and he finds her and he realizes, oh my gosh, she's the most beautiful creature ever to exist. And he ends up actually stalking her in his crow form. And yeah, it's a stalker romance where he's a crow and then he like shifts into a person to be with her, and it's that simple. But you know, he falls for her like the moment that he sees her as a crow. Anyways, there you have it. Those are some hero falls first romance recommendations. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books or if you plan to. And if you don't feel like commenting anything else, you can leave me a bird, because we talked about crow, a bird emoji in the comment section down below. But anyways, thank y'all so much for watching. I will see y'all soon in my next one. Bye y'all.